Ladies and gentlemen, your moderator for the evening, Jim Longworth.
I wanted tonight's panel to represent a diversity of talent. We've succeeded. We have an actor, a novelist, a director, a songwriter, and a guitarist, and they're all the same man. Of course, we know him best as an actor. In The Promise, he failed to recognize his true love after she underwent some nip-tuck. In All the President's Men, he failed to recognize right from wrong. And in Star Trek the Motion Picture, he failed to recognize Bill Shatner's raw nerve. He was a wimp with Richard Pryor, a diplomat with Leo DiCaprio, but then who isn't, and a restaurateur in Tattingers. But to millions of Americans, he'll always be Seventh Heaven's Reverend Eric Camden, a native of Iowa, where, according to Miss California, he's allowed to marry opposite people. Please welcome Stephen Collins. All the way to the end. Our next honoree may hold a modern-day record for playing dads. His on-screen offspring have included Noah Wiley, Hilary Swank, Tori Spelling, and Michael J. Fox. He describes many of his fatherly roles, and these are his words, by the way, as dysfunctional, abusive, and homicidal. But he told me he's proud that he's never been made to pay child support. And he also is the only person I know of from Chicago who is not presently serving in the Obama administration. But no matter where he serves, we'll always remember him as Stephen Keaton, patriarch of Family Ties and husband to the hottest hippie wife of all time. Please welcome Michael Gross. Our next honoree is a study in versatility. He played a cop in Die Hard, a cop in Ghostbusters, a cop on Kojak, a cop in Turner and Hooch, and a cop on Family Matters. In fact, he's played so many policemen that backstage, when he approached me, I immediately pulled out my driver's license and registration. Seriously, though, he's a man of many talents, and that's why directors always seek him out to strengthen their play, their film, or their TV series. He's a great guy. He's a crowd pleaser and an exceptional actor. He'll also be remembered as Steve Urkel's nemesis and as the lovable TV dad on Family Matters. Ladies and gentlemen, Reggie Bell-Johnson. Our next panelist has appeared in films like Pretty in Pink, Superman 4, and Holy Man. That's his nickname. And on television, he was involved with an animated superhero in Stripperella. He was a super agent in the famous Teddy Z and underwent therapy in The Trouble with Normal. Speaking of therapy, in no small affair, he was obsessed with Demi Moore. In Morgan Stewart's Coming Home, he was obsessed with horror films. And after teaming with Charlie Sheen on 2.5 Men, he has become obsessed in general. But we love him for trying to raise a half man while leaving his mark on television. And TV has played a big part in his life, too, because he became engaged to his lovely wife, Lisa, on The Tonight Show. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's Johnny Cryer. You know, John, people are always confusing me with you, and it's embarrassing. Though relatively young, it seems like our next TV dad has been in showbiz forever, and he just about has. His first job in film came at age 18 as a set dresser for Roger Corman. He played in a rock band. He's written and directed and produced film shorts. As an actor, his credits are impressive. At the same time, I must tell you, they are pitiful. In Tombstone, he failed to serve out his term as sheriff. In Apollo 13, he failed to reach the moon. In Titanic, he failed to recover a prized jewel. And in one season of Big Love, he failed to perform in bed with 2 of his 3 wives. Yes, this man is an all-round failure, but tonight he is under no pressure to perform. We're just glad he's here. Welcome, Bill Paxton.
Thanks, Jim. What an introduction.
Our next honoree holds the record for taking off his shirt in prime time and for continuous employment in Hollywood. This is a true fact. In one 22-year stretch, he was only off TV for 3 weeks. And that was just so he could catch his breath. Speaking of which, his big break came from breathing underwater in The Man from Atlantis. He sings, plays the piano, writes novels, and has directed scores of TV episodes, but we know him best for his acting. On Dallas, he was a TV dad who died only to awaken in Victoria Principal's shower. It was the maid's day off. He then became a TV dad for the second time on Step by Step with the lovely Suzanne Summers. And he also appears in a daytime drama, which I think might have been named for him. Please welcome the bold and the beautiful Patrick Duffy. Our next guest is Patrick Duffy fan, huh? He's not taking off his shirt tonight, so. Our next guest has performed in over 600 radio programs, 27 Broadway plays, 24 feature films, and has starred in 7 TV series, and amazingly, he accomplished all that without the use of steroids. But back to radio. He has the distinction of being the only actor in history to have been murdered by loud music from a car radio. That happened in High Anxiety, where he was victimized by Cloris Leachman, and we all know how he feels. Yet, despite his impressive body of work, he is best known for his role on 8 is Enough, which you may recall was a show about the Octomom. But seriously, it's an honor to have this man here tonight, because tonight he is celebrating a special anniversary. These guys up here don't know this. This is his 60th year on television. Dick Van Patten. Our next honoree met his beautiful wife while she was working on a TV show. He was the villain and she was his hostage. No, I'm thinking of Tom Cruise. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm sorry. I slipped the notes in. I'm sorry. Anyway, his acting career took him from commercial spokesperson to voiceover talent in animated films. He's been a guest star in scores of TV series, including a turn as Jerry Seinfeld's allegedly sexual deviant dentist. He has portrayed an astronaut in 2 different films, but in truth, all of his performances have been out of this world. Tonight, we honor him as a 2-time TV dad, same as Patrick, first on Malcolm in the Middle, and now on Breaking Bad as a chemistry teacher who hangs out with bad elements. Please, I couldn't resist, please welcome last year's Emmy winner, Bryan Cranston.
I got your microphone for you.
Our final honoree began his showbiz career as a pantomimist in a group called the Merry Mutes, but he later found his voice on stage in plays like Bye Bye Birdie and in films like Mary Poppins and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Over the years, he has fallen head over heels for Julie Andrews, head over heels for Mary Tyler Moore, and head over heels for more Ottomans than Sultan Suleiman. It's a Turkish joke. He's the winner of a Tony, a Grammy, and 4 Emmys, and at age 84 shows no sign of slowing down. But for tonight, we honor him as a TV dad in hit shows like Diagnosis Murder and Michelle Obama's personal favorite, she said this, The Dick Van Dyke Show. Ladies and gentlemen, Dick Van Dyke.
Just hanging there. Woo!
Well, that's our program, and I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to get to some funny questions and have a good time here, but Dick, I first have a question for you that's very personal, if you don't mind.
I'm 83.
I'm sorry, I added a year by mistake. No, this is a very serious question, and a lot of us here have gotten together and wanted me to ask this, so I hope you won't be offended. But in the Dick Van Dyke Show, Rob and Laura slept in separate beds. Did the characters ever fool around? We want to know that once and for all.
Well, of course. I mean, I thought that was implied, wasn't it?
Well,
I had a kid.
I meant after the kid.
Of course.
Okay, well, I just want to, because I know that Dick Van Patten and Stephen Collins, the two of you on screen, had what, 15 or 16 kids together, so there had to be some recreation.
Thank you.
Hey,
Dick
They're
Van Patten
in a different time
children
zone
with,
down there, so they have to wait for the question to get.
can you, Stephen, can you and Michael hear us from down here?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
Well, that was better, though, whatever they just did. Is great.
Yeah, he said it was better. I think you turned the speaker up so he could hear. Let's
The
get
Doppler effect.
Since we're talking about the facts of life, I know that in some school districts across the country, this is still a sore subject, whether you should offer sex education. So I want to go down the road. I'm going to start with Stephen and move around and just ask you guys, who told you the facts of life? Who told you about the birds and the bees?
There was no dad on the Facts of Life, just so you know. It was at an all-girls school. It's a different show.
No, girls, no dad.
Just try to keep them straight. I'm just saying.
Thank you, John. John is our historian for Thank you, John, for that. I want to start with Stephen. Tell us who told you the facts of life, the birds and the bees. Was it your dad? Did you learn it on the street? What age were you? What was the circumstance? Stephen Collins.
I think I was 11 or 12, and my father, I know that he was prompted by my mother. He was sort of dutifully said, okay, we have to have a very serious talk. And I sort of figured out what it was going to be before it happened, and we went into, I remember we went into the guest room, and he sat down in a chair, and then he spoke for about 15 minutes, and what I heard was, I did not hear a word he said because I was sitting there going, oh my God, my father's telling me about sex. And not a word penetrated. I had to learn it all the hard way at later times.
So
Michael?
Well, as a matter of fact, had I not been able to hear the words, I could have seen the pictures because my father was a draftsman and drew me pictures. No, not as, it wasn't as prurient as you think. It was, it was like a Grey's Anatomy textbook, that boring. And as I had been raised Catholic, I wasn't supposed to have sex until I was 30 anyway. So the boredom was fine for many, many years. But I learned from my dad.
All right, Reggie?
I'm still trying to find out.
That's the secret.
I would ask my father questions, and he would look at me and say, "What's wrong with you?" But basically, I learned from my older brothers and people who were older than me. I would ask questions. I didn't want to go out on the street and learn, so I would always ask my brothers and and they would always tell me, things. So.
All right, Mr. Pryor.
My mom sort of came. She was. There was a little bit of hippie to my mom, which made me. Family Ties was, a great show for my youth, and really struck a chord with me. So she was looking to explain it at the drop of a hat, basically. Any excuse. I think I was 6. And I said, oh, there's a baby. And she said, okay, where babies come from is when a man and a woman love each other very much, So she launched into it several times before I had any understanding of what was being spoken about. And finally, when I was about 8, it sank in. And I went around telling everybody, but for some reason, I think, because I was an 8-year-old, so I was given a bit of information that no other 8-year-olds had. So I was very important in the neighborhood for a short period of time, and I enjoyed that. But I misunderstood to this day. Well, not to this day. I mean, obviously, I got it eventually. But other kids who knew me at the time said, yes, you told everybody that the man puts his finger in the lady's belly button. So obviously, I was a little unclear on the concept.
That was a little too graphic.
Sorry.
Well, I'm going to even go there a little further then.
Oh, no.
My dad liked to describe things very graphically. I remember when I was about 16 years old, and I wanted to talk to my dad. I had heard this term premature ejaculation, and I thought I was the only guy on earth that had this problem. So on a Saturday morning, my dad was going downtown to pick up some mail at his office, and I said, "Can I go with you, Pop?" He goes, "Yeah, sure." And it took me a long time. Now I could talk to my dad about anything, but I finally said, "Dad, I think I've got this problem." He goes, "Well, what's the problem, son?" I go, "I think I'm a premature ejaculation." And he looked at me and he goes, "Oh, son, you don't have to worry about that." He goes, "Oh, hell, I used to go off on the nest all the time." That was the expression. But I have to say, okay.
Wow.
But to be able to talk to your father and to have him tell you something, you have no idea how relieved I was. And you know what? To this day.
In many ways, yeah. In many ways, and I would. Patrick.
It's a hard one to follow.
I'd like to call a friend. Wow. Yeah, well, actually, my youngest son sat me down. He wanted no one else in the will, and that was, he said, I don't remember, actually.
You don't remember?
It was one of those things where it wasn't important to me, until I was 3 or 4, and by then I knew everything.
Dick Van Patten, let's hear from you.
I was 14 years old, and my father told me, and I was thinking, oh boy, I hope he's right.
Brian?
What an interesting, provocative question to ask, right? And how ironic that I find myself seated between a couple of dicks.
Oh, that was great.
I seem to remember piecemealing my education through Playboy magazines and Native women from National Geographic.
Yeah. All right, and finally, we want to hear from Mr. Dick Van Dyke on this important question. How did you learn about the facts of life?
I didn't know what puberty was till I was almost past it. a lot from Sears and Roebuck catalog. Remember those?
Sears and Roebuck?
Yeah.
I thought that was a hardware magazine.
Not in those days. Actually, my wife told me most that I know.
All right, on kind of a serious note, but stay similar theme here. Let's start back around the horn with Stephen. And I want you to tell us something about your dad. It can be serious or funny or whatever you think of, but something about your dad that you want to share with us. What was he like?
Nobody get off on a rant here.
Did he influence you in certain ways in your career?
Well, he certainly didn't much about the facts of life. Yeah, you know, my dad was, he didn't try to teach me much of anything. He's from that very laissez-faire generation where he just figured we'd figure it all out ourselves. But he was a great example to me socially. He often held opinions that were not popular at the dinner table or in the party, and he didn't back off of them. He didn't state them aggressively, but he didn't apologize for his opinions, even when they weren't what was in the room, you know, what would have really been the coin of the realm in that room or at that party. And he knew how to disagree in a way that was provocative and gentlemanly. And I really admired that about him. And he stood up for what he believed in, but in a very quiet way.
Okay. Michael?
Someone had actually asked me this earlier this evening, and I think the answer was, if I've learned anything from him, it was commitment in a certain way. That is, he was an only child, a nice, quiet, Methodist boy who married into a group of insane Irish Catholic sisters, my mother being one of them, and he didn't know what he was in for. And they were all quite a handful, and when you got one, you got the whole bunch. And my dad, over the years, committed himself not only to my mother, but to her crazy sisters and to my mother's mother when her health failed and she had to give up her home and she came to live in our two-bedroom house in a working-class area of Chicago. And I really think he was in it for the long haul and it was difficult, but I didn't hear a lot of complaint. There was a lot of drinking, but no. and he was a teetotaler as well because he had come from a line of people who were not. And so I don't know how he took it all. I think, but it was commitment. He stayed through some pretty rough times in a very committed way.
All right, Reggie.
Well, my father was a Navy man, and he didn't have much tolerance for bull stuff, you know, and he taught me, he wasn't a patient man, so he taught me patience from being not patient because he didn't understand the arts and things like that. I want to be an actor. He didn't understand any of that. You know, he wanted to, you know, he felt that somebody should have a job and, you know, be serious about that. And I always felt that I would prove him wrong by saying, you know, you can do that. You can, you know, who you want to be and whatnot. So, and I did. And before he passed away, he came to me and he said, "You made something of yourself, and I'm so proud of you." And that meant a lot to me, you know. So that's how it was.
All right, John. Because your dad was an actor, right?
My dad is an actor, and my parents were divorced when I was 4. So and my dad moved away to California to sort of take his career to the next stage, you know. And so I didn't see him for a very long period of time in my youth, but I remembered he had these leather zip-up Beatle boots that I just loved, and I missed. You know, it was just this, you know, part of him that was so indelibly etched, you know, into me. And then when he finally moved back to New York to do a play, I visited him backstage. And I saw, and after he was putting on his shoes, and he wasn't putting on the Beatle boots. You know, of course, it was 15 years later or whatever, and you know, it had been so long, and I realized, wow, I've got to get to know my dad. You know, I didn't really get to know him.
Right.
And what's been great as an actor is to earn his respect. You know, just straight up as an actor, and get to know the guy. Who's a lovely, lovely man, you know, and I wish, you know, I'd gotten to be around him more as a kid. So.
Billy, tell us about your dad.
Well, I just told you a little bit.
Yeah, not that
colorful guy.
I think that's enough.
Yeah, let's get Bill. Let's go on.
I have a few of them.
All right.
My dad was from Kansas City, Missouri. He was devoted to his dad. He started. My grandfather started a hardwood lumber business. It was a wholesaler of hardwoods in the Midwest, and my dad went to work for his dad when he was 16. And my dad I never knew my grandfather. He died before I was born, but I know my dad was very devoted to him. And my dad is the person I measure everyone by. And I'm one of the luckiest guys I know because my dad will be 89 years old next month, and he's still my closest confidant. He's the person that gave me, you know, I mean, when I told him I wanted to come out here and pursue a career, he was a little worried about that, but he was always supportive. But the thing I remember most about him, and I'm kind of, from hearing these other guys talk about their dads, was my dad is a great student of human nature. He was a lumber salesman, and he would come back from the road. He was always gone for 2 or 3 days. He'd always have great stories and great expressions, like the one I used earlier. And, but his thing was what he taught me was that, you know, take time to talk to somebody. He's a natural interviewer. And, you know, you're on a plane or you're on a bus, or you know, we all end up in disparate groups in life. But, you know, he'd always strike up a conversation and like, well, where are you from? Oh, yeah, I've been down that way. And he always got something from that exchange, and it was a nice thing. So I think my dad was a great socialist. in terms of being a social man who had a great humanity, and he still does. He still, if you meet my dad, he's putting you on stage. He's asking you where you're from.
Right.
Yeah. Great guy. I'm sorry he's not here tonight.
Patrick, let's talk about your dad.
There are people here who knew of my father. I guess he taught me, you would have to know my dad, and I'll one at a time talk to you all later after the show. He taught me when you're going to drink an incredible amount of alcohol, never wear your best shoes. I'll explain that later to those of few of you who haven't experienced that. He shot Santa Claus when I was 3 years old.
Whoa. He shot Santa Claus.
Yeah, that was when he was not wearing his best shoes. When I was 3 years old on Christmas Eve, he got a wild notion and grabbed his shotgun. We lived in Montana and went out on the porch and blasted away and came back in and said, "There, the bastard's dead." I swear to you, it's true. So my mother worked overtime that night making things right. But what I will say is similar to everything that he did, I look back on it now, and I swear to you, I'm not on a water tower with a high-powered rifle. I think I turned out okay. And I've learned things from him that I use to this day in his social ability to relate to people. These things were things that are just myths and things in our family that actually happened, but his social skills as a bartender and the youngest of 13 children was something that I carry with me to this day, and I still cry on Christmas.
Dick, I cheated a little bit, Dick, and read a story about your dad, because if you don't know, Dick has founded a pet food company, and it's a very special company, and he's a pet lover. And but I read this story that your dad used to take you to pet stores a lot on the weekends when you were a kid, right?
Yeah, my father was highly intelligent, not educated, but so smart. And every Saturday, I wanted to have a pet shop when I was a kid, but he would take me every Saturday. I would buy a different pet. And I bought a little alligator once. This is true. And I bought a little alligator for $1 once, a baby alligator. It got bigger and bigger and bigger. Finally, we kept it in the bathtub. And then finally, nobody could take a bath. And so finally, my grandmother said, "Get rid of that alligator." So I took it to the Central Park Zoo. And it's probably still there because alligators live alone.
Brian, tell us about your dad.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. You know, I knew that was coming. My dad was a shoe salesman. He sold zip-up Beetle boots to actors, and that's how he made his living. No, actually very comfortable, but mine is pretty similar to John's. My dad was an actor as well, and he was in everything he died. I watched him die in everything. He was an army guy or a cavalry man or something like that. But my parents also divorced, and I didn't see my dad for like 10 years during formative years. And then years later, we got back in touch, and now we formed a new relationship, and it's really a great one. And it's interesting how you go through life and you don't know what your plight is going to be and what cards you're going to be dealt, but it turned out the way it's supposed to turn out, I think. You know?
Yeah. Dick, your dad, nicknamed Cookie.
Yes, how did you know that?
Salesman. I did my homework. Salesman for the Sunshine Biscuit Company.
Salesman.
Wow. Tell me about him.
Well, my relationship with my dad was a little different. He was a traveling salesman, of course. He was only home on weekends. And so my association was with my mother, emotionally, because my dad was rather distant. But I grew up during the Depression, and when times were really tough. And we were constantly in debt and worried about money. Well, I was born the stock market crashed in, what, 29? I was 4 years old, and I lost everything. But as a matter of fact, if my parents were alive, I'd move back in with them. I think it got so bad. My dad, what his saving grace was that he had a great sense of humor about his condition in life and about himself. And I can remember laughing until I had tears in my eyes. And my mother, the same way. They both could laugh so
and
hard
they were
about
naturally
their poverty.
Yeah.
And my brother Jerry and I have often talked about it. We didn't know we were poor. We had wonderful childhood.
That's great.
I think better than they have today because we weren't micromanaged. You know?
Yeah.
Our summer vacation was ours to do what we wanted to.
Sure.
They were great days.
Well, just for the sake of Jeremy and the camera guys and everything, since we're right here on shot of, I presume, a shot of Dick, let me start this next question with you. And it's gonna, we're going to ask everybody the same. No, it's, I want to know what your first, what your first brush with showbiz was. Now, I'm not saying it had to be your first paying job. Your first touch, your first feel of showbiz, your first acting role, because again, I cheated with you and read that I think you were 4 years old and you played the baby Jesus.
That's right. And I got laughs.
That's hard. What did he say?
He got laughs.
But here's the thing I don't understand. How can a 4-year-old wasp play a 1-week-old Jew?
I didn't look the same at 4 years old.
Oh, all right. What, now, your first, I mean, other than that, what was your first acting job?
Well, you know, I just finished reading Steve Martin's book, Born Standing Up.
Right.
And his childhood was so parallel to mine, it was really strange. I was an amateur magician.
Right.
I loved magic. And I would stand for hours in front of the mirror practicing my sleight of hand and everything.
Can you make Brian disappear?
Hey. What was I saying? Oh. And I finally got a little act together, and at 12, I was doing Kiwanis Club luncheons and things like that for $3.
Really?
Yeah, and so I liked it right from the beginning. I liked performing right from the beginning. In high school, I was in all the shows and everything. I never really thought there was a chance I could actually be in show business.
Right.
I just loved it so, but I got all the breaks, you know.
That's great.
Yeah.
Brian, what was your first touch with acting?
Aside from playing Frank James in my garage, the story of Jesse and Frank James,
Right.
Which I was marvelous, by the way. When I was 7, I did a commercial for the United Way that my dad was producing. And I knew something was special then because I was a kid playing baseball. In those days, they had like, you know, the commercials were 90 seconds long.
Right.
And the ball gets out in the street. I run out in the street. I get hit by a car. The ambulance takes me away. I go to the hospital. They put a real cast on from my toes to my neck. And then in those days, they had the saw that just came down. And frightening as hell. And they split that away. And then I had to relearn how to walk again with the nurse. Right. And then swimming, you know, and then... And then, you know, it was for City of Hope. And then at the last shot was I'm holding hands with this woman who's playing my mother. Right. And we walk out of the hospital, and I could walk again. And then I
That's
got
longer
by
than
a
my
bus.
career.
But, yeah.
Any series.
This is in 90 seconds?
Yeah, 90 seconds.
90 seconds.
I saw that movie.
That's a movie of the week, yeah. Dick. Dick Van Patten. Now, I happen to know that your mom entered you in a photogenic contest. I think you were a young kid, and you actually won it. And what I think is interesting about this is the judge of the contest that you won was Eleanor Roosevelt.
Mayor LaGuardia.
And LaGuardia.
Theodore LaGuardia and Eleanor Roosevelt. And then I got into my mother was a real stage mother.
Right.
But thank God I've had a great life because of her. But the first job she got me, you had to be 7 years old to be on Broadway. And I was in a play called Tapestry in Grey. I played Melvin Douglas's son, and the play, that was the first job, and then I went on.
But you got notice from
7 years.
Yeah, you got notice from that contest. I mean, everything sort of sprung from that, didn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Patrick?
my father, besides being a bartender, was a carpenter, and I apprenticed with him, and I always thought I was going the next level up and I was going to be an architect. I did plays in school and everything, and when it came time to go to college, I decided at the urging of my drama teacher in high school to become an actor. And I went home and I said to my dad, I said, I'm going to be an actor instead of an architect. And he looked up and he went, oh, great. and that was it. So it was that whole high school, junior high school thing that just sort of planted the seed. All the time I was doing it, I was still going to be an architect. But there came one moment when you come to that decision-making.
What was the moment?
Point. Working with girls.
We already covered that question.
Yeah. It'll be a reoccurring theme with me.
Bill?
You got to try my job. You need some Viagra to go with it. You know, my dad loved plays and movies, and from a very early age, he took me and my brother, older brother Bob, usually on a Friday night or Saturday. I grew up in Fort Worth, Texas. There was a great, TCU had a great theater department, and we go over to Dallas. But when we come out of a play or a movie, he'd start talking about, you know, the lighting or the music, or from a very early age, he made me very aware of the artifice of what I was watching. I fell in love with that. And the other thing is, like I said, he was a lumber salesman. He traveled. He'd be gone for 2 or 3 days at a time, and I couldn't keep up with him. He'd be up to Chicago or Des Moines or over to Kansas City or wherever. So I'd say, hey, where are you heading this week, Pop? And he always had the same stock answer, and he'd always say, I'm flying out to the coast to make a picture. And it's funny because you look back on your life at this point, you can kind of see how you got here. It's kind of strange, but I think secretly he really wanted to be an actor.
Right.
Or maybe work on Madison Avenue or something. He really had a creative bent to him, and so he gets out of the lumber business. He retires at age 70. He calls me up one day and he says, you know, I'm thinking about getting into your business. And I'm like, Pop, don't do that to yourself. You're in the golden years. Enjoy yourself. And he thinks if he calls on enough casting directors, like enough cabinet shops, he's going to make a sale. It's not quite like that. So I said, well, you got to take some classes and stuff. And I get up, this is a few years ago, I'm going up to shoot a movie called A Simple Plan, directed by Sam Raimi. I get up to Minneapolis, I go see Sam on a late afternoon, and I'm looking at the pictures in the production, obviously 8x10s, and there's Bridget Fonda and Billy Bob Thornton and me and my dad and Brent. What is my dad doing up there? And I look at Sam Raimi, I say, well, what's my father doing up there? And he said, well, you know, I got a really nice note from your dad. He said he's in SAG. I go, yeah, everybody's in SAG. Yeah, you just got to pay your dues. You're in SAG. And he said, well, I thought he could play that part of the farmer who comes in complaining about his bill. I go, he better be good. All right, jump to now. My dad has been in every Spider-Man movie. I haven't had a hit since Titanic. And this is bullshit reverse nepotism.
That's great. That's funny. All right, John, what got you into it?
Well, my mom was also an actor, actually, or actress. I don't know what's the appropriate thing. But she was an actress as well as a playwright, actually. And just an interesting note, when she first started as an actress, she had been a playwright for years and was very confident as a playwright. But she wasn't confident as an actress. So in her first play that she wrote and was acting in, she used her real name as a writer, but she used a stage name as an actress. Her real name being Gretchen Cryer, my mother, her stage name being Sally Niven. Well, when the reviews came in, Sally Niven got raves. Gretchen Cryer got killed. Absolutely, just murdered. But in order to pay the bills while, in between hit plays, she would do commercials. And she got hired to do a commercial for Zest Tabs, which was this multivitamin, probably mostly sugar, probably more sugar than Flintstone vitamins. Children were dying in Botswana from this thing, But at any rate, she was to be the perky housewife, and the whole theme of the thing was, and the kids like them too. So they said, "You know any kids?" And I said, "Sure," at the time. So I, at the age of 4 or 5, was in a commercial. And then they put our face on all the labels of Zest tabs.
Really?
Which was super freaky, because I go into the drugstore and I'm like, "Mommy, that's me." And what was weird was my sister, I had a sister at the time who was in the right age range, but she didn't want to be a part of the commercial. So they put some other girl in there. And years later, I sat in a play, and she sat next to me. And I was like, "You're my sister from the Zest tabs." And she thought I was insane. Thank you.
You really had it in your blood, your dad, your mom, and your stepmom's a dancer, right, John?
I'm sorry?
Your stepmom's a dancer, too. Your mom and your dad didn't
My
show
stepmother's a dancer, yes. Yeah. And my dad actually is still on Broadway. He's been doing Phantom of the Opera for 17 years.
Wow. Man.
Which, you know, I have a lot of admiration for actors, but that's just an amazing achievement in my mind. He does that show 8 shows a week, and he still loves it. He loves the show, he loves the business, and the incredible joy he takes in it every show. Every time I feel a little down, I just go, you know what? There's a guy who's doing it 8 shows a week and loving every minute, so I'm lucky.
Reggie, how did the acting bug bite you?
Well, you have to understand something, you see. Aside from my Navy man father who had no patience, I was an embarrassment to my family because, you see, we lived in a working class town, Jamaica, Queens, New York, you know, and, oh, you were there. But I would do things in school that would really piss them off.
Like what?
And, well, I would get on top of the desk and tap dance and do things, and I would get sent home from school, you know, and so they said, "Do something about this boy, please." So they decided to send me to a psychiatrist. And it's true, no. So they sent me to a psychiatrist. I had these sessions, and the psychiatrist said, "Well, there's really nothing really wrong with him, but here's a suggestion. My wife has this acting school for kids. It's called the Jamaica Queens Dramatic Arts Academy." And so I went there. And my first play was as a pirate in Peter Pan.
Okay.
And I was a hit. And the rest is history.
There you go. Michael.
My very first stage appearance, I don't usually count this, but this was, I was in A Christmas Carol. I was in 3rd grade, and I was an off-stage caroler at whom Scrooge threw a shoe. I was never seen, but it was Away in a Manger, written by Martin Luther, and it was a huge scandal because I was in a Catholic school, and the nuns finally canceled it. We had to sing something else because we were not going to sing a song by Martin Luther. Thank you very much. But aside from that, I didn't know anything about libido at the time, but after that it was pure libido. That's what got me into it. It was in high school, and as a lot of young men in high school, I was just looking for a good time. And one day I was in chorus, and the choral director came in and said, "There is a Catholic girls' school." I was in public school. I was a Catholic girls' school that is looking, like the Marines, for a few good men to be in their production of Oklahoma. Well, a bunch of us guys in the bass section, we'd never acted a day in our lives, looked at each other and went, "Catholic school girls!" A whole school full of them. Frustrated, you know. And so I went over that afternoon, got a role in Oklahoma, and I must say to this day, I didn't get to first base with any of them, but I had a great time, and I am to this day still friends with, I played Will Parker, and still friends with Edu Annie. The lady, young lady.
There you go. There you go. Good story. Stephen?
Well, I was an appallingly shy kid, and I lived in a suburb of New York. My parents went to the theater all the time. They would see a show, a musical, and they would come back and they'd buy the cast album and play it. And I would occasionally get to go. I saw Mr. Van Dyke in Bye Bye Birdie in 1960.
Nice.
I told him backstage, I'll never forget it. And I wanted to be that guy, but I couldn't, the space between me and that was like infinity. I couldn't imagine how to bridge that gap. And I was so shy that when you could start auditioning for plays in high school, I couldn't imagine going to an audition. What was that going to be? How would that work? Probably, and I just couldn't do it. So I didn't. And I sat out the plays, and I would go to the plays and watch them and think, oh, God, I should be up there. And it was really playing in a rock and roll band in high school. When the Beatles came out, it's hard to imagine now, but at the moment the Beatles came out, nobody in a high school played in a rock and roll band. If you had a party at a high school dance, it was a bunch of greasers from Yonkers in purple tuxedos. They were all 35. And nobody in high school knew how to play the guitar or was in a band, but we started like the first band in my school. And it got me up on a stage. I didn't front the band. When I went off to college, I think I needed that jump to college where you have no history, you can reinvent yourself. And then I started fronting the band because they didn't know me as a shy kid. And I started to pretend that I wasn't a shy kid. And I fronted a rock and roll band. It's a great way to do it. And I got cast in a play, and I did this play in college, and from that moment, it was Murder in the Cathedral by T.S. Eliot. And from that moment, I thought, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do this. And I was very lucky. Joseph Papp, the great producer in New York, saw me in the last play I did in college, and he offered me a tiny part in Twelfth Night. 40 years ago this summer, and Ralph Waite was supposed to be here tonight to play the father on the Waltons, and he couldn't come because he got a job.
What does that say about us?
We're here because we're unemployed.
Hey, I know Brian's working.
Out of work.
And I was in that play with Ralph, but it took until last summer when I was offered the chance to come in and go in the role of King Arthur in Spamalot, to get to Broadway and star in a musical. I was 60 years old. That's how long it took from, the kid who listened to cast albums when nobody was home.
Long term. And Stephen is a very accomplished musician, as many of you know. He has numerous CDs. He's a novelist, and I listened to one of your CDs the other night. It's great.
Thanks.
Great. This next thing is not so much a question, but I have a couple of, this is kind of serious. I really want people to know, I want you guys, several of you, not all of you, but several of you, I want you to confess something that I've learned about you, and I want you to own up to it. And I want to start with Brian, because I happen to know.
Sir, you're going to miss something really good.
That's funny.
He's still walking. He's still walking.
He's still walking.
He's had enough of us, I think.
Yeah. I happen to know, this is serious, I'm making a joke. Brian secretly, they don't want to get this to get out. You secretly hate Stephen Collins. I talked to you about this on the phone. I want you to tell the people why you hate, I'm not joking, you're going to hit, why do you hate Stephen?
Well, first of all, thank you for putting us this far apart.
Yeah.
How can you look at that man? How can you hate him? You can't hate him. No, Stephen and I were in a celebrity poker showdown episode, and we whittled it down to just he and I.
Oh.
I'll let you guess how it turned out.
Let me shift to Michael. Michael, this is something that it might be a little painful for you. Are you okay with this?
It depends on what it is. Where are we going with this?
There was a poll taken by TV Guide some time ago about the 50 greatest dads on TV. And Stephen made number 11 and you made number 12. And I happen to know...
That's only because his show was more recent than mine.
Yeah. Well, that's not what you told me on the phone. Dick Van Patten, at age 16, I have it on good authority that you dated a stripper and she made you get a tattoo. I want you to say yes or no and confess to this.
Yeah, that's true.
Can we see it, Dick?
Yeah.
See it?
You got a follow-up question?
My arm.
He wasn't wearing his best shoes that
Where that tattoo might be placed?
No, it's up on my arm. It's a horseshoe. It's a horseshoe. She made me get it. It was stupid. She said, I bet you're not brave enough to get your church, she said. I said, no, I'm brave enough. I was trying to impress her. And so they start. In those days, they didn't use the electric needle. They used a real needle.
Ow.
I can't stand blood, and the blood's streaming down my arm. And she said, does it hurt you? I said, no, no, no. I said, oh, what a dopey thing to do. When oh, and then I thought, you know, I'd make out or something. Nothing.
Nothing.
I thought you were going to say we've been married 60 years.
John?
Yeah?
John.
Yes?
I know we're so far away here. This is also true. Somebody told me, a friend of yours told me, that you had actually wanted the role of the sidekick in the Die Hard movies and had resented Reggie for many years. I'd like to know if you've let go of that yet, or...
No, I'm a seething mass of rage right now, and it's
Tough cookies, buddy.
Yes, yes, it's been very tough. I also wanted to be on Family Matters for many years as the black patriarch.
Yeah.
And I'll never forgive you.
I understand.
Dick Van Dyke. This is Mr. Van Dyke here. I read an article that came out many, many years ago that said, on your first day of shooting the Dick Van Dyke Show, you sweated through 6 dress shirts because you were uptight about the first day.
Wreck. Oh, yeah. But not only that, I had 5 fever blisters. Ooh. I was doing Bye Bye Birdie on Broadway.
Right.
And they gave me a week off to come out and shoot the pilot. And I was so nervous. I mean, it meant so much to me. I had to kiss Mary, and she just go.
Yeah. Did you ever, I guess as Brian says, the follow-up question would be, when you start any new project, do you still get some butterflies, or you just, that doesn't bother you?
No, these days I just have a wonderful time. All the heart in the mouth things stopped years ago because I did a lot of stuff that I had never done before. I auditioned for Bye Bye Birdie for Gower Champion. I didn't sing and dance, and I just got up and did Once in Love with Amy and a little soft shoe, and he gave me the job. And I thought, oh great, now I got to learn to sing and dance.
I'm not going to make everybody answer if you don't want to, but that brings me to this sort of a logical follow-up, which is, do any of you guys, all consummate professionals, do you still get butterflies when you start a new shoot, a new film, a new TV show, a new stage play, the first day, or not? Now, I won't, I'm not going to force everybody to say something you don't want to, but somebody jump in.
I do.
Yeah, I do.
I do. Yeah.
All right, so Patrick, you're saying yes.
I always do. I always, somewhere in my mind, I always think, is this the one they're going to find out? Oh. Is this the one they're going to look and go, oh, he can't do that?
Yes.
It's always in there somewhere, and you get a little flop sweat and a little palpitation.
Yeah, Reggie?
Well, I don't mean to be rude or crude, but I actually get diarrhea.
You know, I could have gone all night.
I do.
Better than going off on the desk. I'm telling you.
Boy, the imagery that we're getting tonight.
No, but it's true. You can't help but get nervous. You have to, because you always wonder, is this going to be my last job,
Seriously.
Yeah.
And I think it helps a little, too. Well, with certain characters. If you've got to be the coolest guy in the room, it's probably not a help. But if you're playing, I don't know, Alan on 2.5 Men, it works.
Yeah. Billy, you were shaking your head yes when Patrick was saying.
Yeah, I think that's a natural thing, so we're going to get caught and somebody's going to come say, oh my God, there's been a mistake.
Exactly.
But I feel like I'm kind of comfortable with that now. It's been a long time, so I don't think they're going to show up. But yeah, of course, yeah, I think every time you start a job, and every season we start on Big Love, it's like, okay, have I got this down? Am I going to pull this off? It's
Dick Van Patten, you were also shaking your head yes. That
You're afraid you might make a mistake, and ruin the whole play. So I get nervous, yeah.
Sure.
What are you afraid, Michael and Stephen?
Particularly the theater, I think, where, you know, there's nowhere to run. Yeah. We're sitting next to each other because we've suffered intestinal distress. We understand. No, but I mean, it's just, yeah, I'd rather go through shirts, though, like him, than underwear, you know.
Yeah.
5 pairs of shorts in one production.
Yeah.
In the, you know, in the theater, though, you have a few weeks rehearsal before you're going to get in front of an audience. On a film or television show, the crew is there. Right. And what I've noticed over the years is that I think I'm unconsciously trying to get, when it's working, everyone in the crew starts to pay attention in a very specific way. When they get that something's clicking around them, they think, oh, this actually might work. Because they don't know. The first day of a job or the first day of a television series, the crew doesn't know if they're on something that's going to last 2 weeks or 10 years. But they're hoping that it will work. And if something starts to work that you're doing, they pay attention. And then the nerves go away. But I knew that I'd stopped smoking for good when I didn't smoke on the first day of a shoot. Because I could stop smoking for 2 years, and the first day of rehearsals or the first day of a shoot, you know, lighting right up.
Brian,
Crack or just cigarettes?
My daughter's here, please.
Stephen said something sort of important, talking about playing to the crew, and I don't know about the rest of the people here, but anybody who's had a series for any length of time or, you know, a regular job, which is unusual in our business, is the crew becomes such an important part of the family. Mm-hmm. And I know that after our 7 years on Family Ties, one of the most difficult things was walking away, not only from the cast members, but the crew that had become a marvelous extended family, you know, that cut you no slack in terms of letting you get away with things, that were, you know, always on your side and a great deal of fun. And, you know, the camera jockeys and the sound people and just, you know, the fun.
Right.
Yeah. That was must be nice to be on a network show. They don't pay our guys enough to come back. We're always getting to know new people. It's really weird. Doing an intimate scene, you're like, who's that guy?
Brian, since we haven't heard from you yet on this this question about, do you get butterflies?
I've had all 3 of those symptoms: diarrhea, throwing up on new shoes, and premature ejaculation. But that all goes away when the curtain goes up, and I feel great. I think most of the time you feel a little anxious and nervous excitement, and I think sometimes that crosses over and you can't really identify which is which.
There's some special things that we want to do here in just a minute, but before we do that, one last thing I want to explore with each of you very quickly. If you could play any other TV dad in history other than the one that you did, or one that you admired most, you could answer it both ways, and or. I admired him most. I wanted to play that role if I could have gotten it. I keep picking on Stephen because we're going in order, but let's start with Stephen.
He's the most erudite.
Yeah. Well,
you know, gosh, I'd probably choose something utterly different from me. I'd choose Dennis Leary's role, you know, on Rescue Me. I mean, I think that's about as good as it gets from, you know, or I'd go the other way and it would be, you know, the archetype Robert Young on Father Knows Best. You know?
Okay. You might be surprised with something in a little bit since you said that. Michael.
I don't have anything too terribly recent because I've, as time has gone on, I've become less of a television watcher over time, but I do. So I go backwards to people like, well, I mean, again, I thought of this many times tonight. I always loved Hugh Beaumont on Leave It to Beaver.
Right.
And I'm sorry he's gone. I would have loved to have
what was in that
seen
pipe,
him.
though? He always had to get that pipe going.
Right, protect. I thought I'd have a pipe and slippers waiting for me just to get in this chair. And I'm so glad I'm sitting in this particular chair because then I don't have to look at it. Color is unbelievable. At any rate, I always loved Leave It to Beaver because the kids were really allowed to be kids, had I love all their friends, Wally's friends, Lumpy, and of course Eddie Haskell, and you know, Beaver's pals, and you know, they were real kids, and I grew up on that, and that was all one of my favorite things.
Right.
I'm sorry, Hugh Beaumont isn't here for me to tell.
All right, Reggie.
I've met Tony Dow. That was a big deal.
Well, for me, I was a big fan of the Rifleman, Chuck Connors.
Yes.
I used to love the relationship he had with his son.
Yeah.
You know, there was just no black people at that time.
Hey, wait. Sammy Davis Jr. guest starred as a gunslinger on The Rifleman.
I missed that episode.
Really?
Well,
Well, good.
My
okay.
God.
So you liked Lucas McCain?
Yeah,
I did
it was
too.
great.
All right, John?
I would have to say Dick Van Dyke, that gentleman. You know, that speech that they showed actually in the thing of Where Do Babies Come From, you know, it just, I was lucky enough to have a moment like that on my show where Angus asks me what a booty call is, and I have this extensive monologue about, oh, well, you know, in the Old West, but just, you know, that was sort of my homage, so thanks, man. That's wonderful, wonderful stuff.
All right, Billy?
John Aston in the Addams Family. I love that show. My dad used to cut out the Charles Addams cartoons out of the New Yorker and stuff, and I loved the way he was so into his wife and the way they were, and the kids were kind of there, but it was really great, really great. But weirdly enough, all the TV dads I grew up kind of remembering, there was something that happened to the mother. The wife was out of the picture. I mean, Dick, you had a wife, but
So
the Rifleman, I mean, what was the deal there? I mean, did he shoot her by accident? And what was the deal with Andy Griffin and Opie? I mean, was that his bastard kid, or what was that?
Courtship of Eddie's father?
What was it? Yeah, courtship of Eddie's father? I mean, Uncle Bill, was he their father or uncle? Or
Really?
what the hell happened to Aunt Dorothy? I mean, you know, it's nutty.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I mean, you got
You're really wound up about this.
Wait a second. You got My Three Sons, and you got William Demers, his Uncle Charlie. What did he knock off? The mother? Ended up on the payroll. I mean, you can keep going with this stuff.
You're really making up for
Ben
it.
Cartwright. Now, what was the deal with the cook? What was the deal with the cook?
Ben Cartwright had 4 boys by 4 different wives.
He must have, because they sure didn't look alike. Or maybe it was
Patrick Duffy.
I always thought Fess Parker's wife on Daniel Boone was the hottest woman in a long
And she also
skirt
played in The Rifleman.
I have ever seen in my life.
Who was it?
Patricia Blair.
Yeah, Patricia Blair.
Yeah.
She was so beautiful. So, you know, for all the other reasons, all the other dads that are talking about were cool, but I just thought Fess Parker hit pay dirt.
There you go. Dick Van Patten.
Well, I think I would have had the most fun playing Carol O'Connor on All in the Family. Now, I want to say one thing though, and I think Carol O'Connor was wonderful. But now maybe you won't agree with me. I think he was stealing a lot of stuff from Jackie Gleason. Think about it. Remember the Gleason show? You're too young. But I think that Carol O'Connor stole a little from Jackie Gleason, but he did it to perfection.
All right.
Well, they wanted Gleason to begin with.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, Carol told me, yeah.
They also wanted you to play the son-in-law, Dick, the son-in-law on the Danny Thomas show, and they were afraid.
They did?
Yeah. I had lunch with Pat Harrington the other day, and apparently you were the first pick, and they thought you might be too strong and might upstage Danny Thomas. So
I had the nose for it.
well, on the quest, I digress. I'm sorry, Brian. You're if you could be any other TV dad.
Speaking of stealing, when I was starting to work on Malcolm in the Middle, I really didn't know where that character was going to go, but I did know one thing. All I had to do was look at my hero, Dick Van Dyke, to just, I adore you, you know that, and he has always been my idol, and every stitch of comedy that I've ever been able to obtain has come this way, so thank you.
Yeah, baby.
Thank you.
Yeah, baby. Hell yeah.
I owe you a lot of commission money, by the way.
and Dick Van Dyke.
I've been his best PR guy.
Well, I know you have. This will be a tough question.
He was on Diagnosis Murder.
I know.
On a two-part, played a homeless guy. It was one of the best performances, and I've been a fan ever since.
Yeah.
The guy does comedy. He can do anything.
A lot of people have been on your shows.
Oh, yeah.
Raise your hand if anybody's worked with Dick.
Almost.
How do you like that?
Oh, there you go.
What was I going to say? Oh, I think the best TV father was Bill Cosby. Because that show, he did shows about the connection between the father and his sons and the problems the kid had. I thought it was so empathetic about family life. I just loved it. And of course, Bill was just great. But that's my favorite father.
That's great. I want to get to some special guests, some surprises for you and the audience. Let me move over to the podium for just a minute.
Is Maury Amsterdam coming out here?
Maury Amsterdam coming out here.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, that's right, Dick.
Oh, God.
Yeah. According to, gentlemen, according to historians, the first Father's Day card was sculpted in clay some 4,000 years ago by a Babylonian youth. 4,000 years later, a young Patrick Duffy was making a living by driving a flower delivery truck. So tying those two momentous occasions together tonight, we're going to present each of you with flowers and a gift bag, compliments of the Academy. There'll be some nice treats in there. Also a very fancy tie that looks just like on the logo of the Father's Day, not mine, it's better than mine. But to even, to make it more special, instead of me just handing you the stuff, that would not be special. So I've asked a few people to help us with this. Now, I don't know if these people are here, honest to goodness. Some of these people, I do not know if they're here, so they may not show up, and I may have to give you the flowers. So we'll just take a stab at this and see. I think, let's see, since leaving Seventh Heaven, our first presenter has been active in fundraising for cystic fibrosis and many other charities. She still finds time for acting and became known as playing Ruthie on the youngest, she's the youngest of the Camden clan. I think Mackenzie Rossman is here, is she? Where is Mackenzie? Come up here. Come on up here.
Oh, she's right there. Pardon?
It's tough to make an intro.
I hope so.
Right behind there.
If she comes by me, I'll take it.
Yeah, let's hear it for her. Wow.
It's like, oh. My goodness.
All right. And
Mackenzie was 6 when we started Seventh Heaven.
Wow. Yeah, makes
I rest my case.
Yeah, just wait behind. Yeah, stand behind the chair. It'll be fine. No, Mackenzie, stay right there. Stand right behind the chair. We're going to ask you to say something in just a second. Michael Gross. Michael Gross.
Okay.
I had thought that Tina Yothers was going to be here. She called me just before we went on stage to say she had the flu and could not be here. I racked my brain to try to come up with somebody maybe who, could bring you the flowers on stage. This woman came to me earlier and said that she had worked with you at one time. I don't know if that's true.
Does she have a tattoo?
That's right. It's the girl that gave Dick Van Patten the tattoo. Ladies and gentlemen, Meredith Baxter.
Whoa.
Woo!
Behind every successful TV dad is a successful TV mom.
Yeah. Or 3.
Like his TV dad, this next young man is multi-talented. He's a songwriter and music producer, but has appeared on screen with the likes of Robert De Niro and Whoopi Goldberg. Tonight, he's here to help us honor his Family Matters TV dad, Reginald L. Johnson. And we are speaking, of course, of Darius McCrary.
Little dad on
Well, then there must be some magic clue inside these gentle walls.
John Cryer, Angus Jones wanted to be here. He's in Texas. Angus is down in Texas, and he had a little message for you.
Hi, I'm Angus T. Jones from 2.5 Men. I used to be the half man, but we've been on the air for 6 years now, and while I've grown and Charlie and John have been kind of shrinking, it still adds up to 2.5. Anyways, I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person with you tonight, but I wanted to say a few things about my favorite TV dad. He's compassionate and smart and funny and hardworking and a great role model. Thanks, John. You're the best, and there's no other guy I'd rather have as my TV dad. So, happy Father's Day to you and all the other great TV dads.
We also wanted to try to find somebody other than me just to come over and bring you the flowers. And I think we found an inspiration for you.
Rue McClanahan is
Rue McClanahan is here. She is. She is. Rue McClanahan is
Rue?
here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome John's stepmom, Britt Cryer.
Oh! Oh my God! Oh my God! Hey, sweetie. That's my son Charlie, by the way.
His son
Charlie. All right.
Thanks for coming, sweetie. Thank you. Oh my God. I know. Wow. Okay, this is awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, just a second. John? John?
Yes.
Robert O'Donnell, first of all, let me just say, who just interrupted me.
Uh-huh.
He's a very rude man. He's head of activities for the Academy.
Okay.
Seriously, he does a lot of work. We couldn't have these events without Robert, but he's not supposed to come out and interrupt the activities, and I apologize.
Okay.
But he said somebody is here that wanted to worm their way into this.
Rue McClanahan.
No. I don't know who you are, but.
Hi. Oh
Charlie. Hey, Charlie. Good to see you.
Thanks, man. One thing I want to say, tonight was my son's first night in Cub Scouts. We don't dress him like this all the time. Just saying. But thanks, man. Thanks. These are my two favorite Charlies.
Thank you. All right. Guys, circle around there. Early in her career, our next, this is for Bill Paxton. Billy, are you with us?
I think so.
Early in her career, our next guest won an Emmy for playing a sex-starved country singer on Mary Hartman. Mary Hartman. Her life has come full circle because she now plays the wife of a sex-starved Mormon leader. She's accompanied tonight by one of Hollywood's brightest new talents, whose primetime credits are already very impressive. They both have a connection to Bill. One plays his son, the other his scheming mother-in-law. From Big Love, welcome Douglas Smith and Mary Kay Place. Woo!
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Mary Kay. Thanks. Oh, thanks. Hey, brother.
All right.
You got any liquor in there?
Patrick, our next special guest has written dozens of books, including one titled Touch Me, about the effect of the thigh master on global warming. She played Richard Dreyfuss's dream girl in American Graffiti, John Ritter's roommate on Three's Company, and Patrick's wife on Step by Step. She's also a successful businesswoman, a cancer survivor who has provided inspiration to women everywhere. She'll be joined on stage by the young man who rode the range with his TV dad on Dallas, and by a young woman who was Patrick's daughter in Step by Step. Ladies and gentlemen, Christine Lakin, Josh Harris, and Suzanne Summers. Wow.
I miss having sex with you.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, buddy. She started at 12 years old with a pig. And look at this.
See where
Was
it's
this a
gotten
pair
me?
to draw to? And my first son, kind of. Sorry, boys.
And I believe we also, not to any Dallas music, but we also want
I
to
was going to keep them.
just bring a couple of guys up here very quickly. Connor and Pedro, are you here? Two real life.
Oh, the real sons. Oh.
Yeah, real sons of Patrick Duffy. Come on up, guys. Come on up.
Oh, God. Are they twins?
Stand right
Yeah. Go to the back. Go to the back. If you don't bring me nothing, you go right to the back.
As we mentioned earlier, Tom Bosley couldn't be here because his wife Pat was taken to the hospital. And we wanted to do something special, so we thought we'd bring a couple of folks up here who, in just a few minutes, when everybody's up here, I'm going to pass the mic and everybody's going to say just a few seconds about their particular TV dad. But I wanted to bring them up here right now. Prior to becoming Tom Bosley's TV daughter, our next guest was offered the spinning head part in The Exorcist, but her mom wouldn't let her take it. She made up for it, though, by getting into all sorts of devilment on Happy Days. Tonight, she's joined by one of the most irresponsible TV moms in history. True, this woman is one of the most acclaimed actresses of our time, but she managed to misplace one of her sons after the first season of Happy Days. Please welcome the Cunningham women, Erin Moran and Marion Ross.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, baby. All right, like father, like son, you've heard the phrase. That describes the Van Patten men. And two of them are here with us tonight. One son starred on Apple's Way and did guest spots on such shows as Bonanza, Gunsmoke, and Marcus Welby, MD. The other appeared on Magnum PI and Family and carries the name of his dad's first TV role from 1949 show Mama. With them is a lady who is related by television to these guys. She's the beautiful actress who played one of Dick's daughters in 8 is Enough. Here are Nels and Vincent Van Patten and Diane Kay. Thank you. Yeah. Very nice.
I know. This is your line. This is your line.
Again, I'm not sure, you know, everybody, we hope they show up, and sometimes they get delayed, so we hope these folks are here. Our next two presenters worked with Bryan Cranston before he broke bad, and that's important. This lovely lady burst onto prime time in The Paper Chase, now stars in Raising the Bar. Together with husband Bradley Whitford, they co-founded Clothes Off Our Back, which auctions off actors' costumes to benefit children's charities. It's a great, great cause. Speaking of children, she'll be accompanied tonight, and I hope she's here, by a man who grew up on television, now races cars when he's not acting. From Malcolm in the Middle, I think we have Frankie Muniz and Jane Kasmerick.
Woo! Yeah, you go, Frankie. Looking like Justin Timberlake.
Wow. Hey, beautiful.
Great. How are you?
Our next two special guests both began their. Now, Frankie, you know you're not supposed to cross in front of the. Golly, actors. Our next two special guests both began their careers by appearing on The Dick Van Dyke Show. Let's figure this one out. One played Dick's son, Richie. The other did a cameo as a young violinist, then went on to star in shows like Airwolf and Murder, She Wrote before co-starring with his dad on Diagnosis Murder. They're also accompanied by some real-life offspring of Mr. Dick Van Dyke, grandsons they. So we welcome grandson Shane Carey and also Barry Van Dyke and Larry Matthews.
You're going to see some good-looking guys now. Good guys.
Oh, yeah.
There. Right here. Hey, where are you guys? Oh, there they are. Have I got a good-looking family or what? This is the entire. I don't drink, you know.
No booze.
Okay. Well, thank you, Larry. This is Richie. Hey.
Amazing. Unbelievable.
Go to your room.
Go to your room. All right, thanks. All right.
The entire cast of Diagnosis Murder.
That's right.
I just wanted to say, besides being the oldest guy here, ours was the only show in black and white. Am I right?
Yes.
We're only one, yeah. That's how far back I go. We had sound, however. We did have sound. I thought we had sound.
E.W. Griffith.
We had somebody come late, if it's okay. Adam Rich is here for Dick.
Oh, my God. What?
Thank you.
Who's that?
Thanks for coming to see it. Thanks a lot.
There were a couple of guys, it's already been alluded to earlier, a couple of guys that we really wanted to be here and they couldn't. They were called away shooting films. One was Terry Crews, who played the husband in Everybody Hates Chris, good friend of mine, Terry. He was called away to a shoot with Sylvester Stallone. It's titled Everybody Hates Sly. But we also know that Terry's going to be getting a DVD of this later. We thought we'd try to surprise him, and we thought, how could we do that? And so we thought we would try to find a man who started his career on Sesame Street and then ended up with Terry. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tyler James Williams. Ready? Stand right here with me. Right here. And as you know, another great dad we were going to have here tonight, he was called away on a shoot as well, Ralph Waite.
Oh, yeah.
Who, of course, played John Walton on the Waltons, the stalwart Depression-era dad. Wow. So in Ralph's absence, I thought it was only fitting that some of his TV offspring be here to honor his work. Reporting for duty, I believe, are Aaron, Jason, Ben, and Elizabeth. Welcome. Mary McDonough, John Walmsley, Eric Scott, and Cammie Cox.
Yeah.
Look at that, the Walton children. Holy shit.
I'll bunch up, right? Now, finally, one more piece of business, and then I'm going to pass the mic around and let everybody say something for a few seconds, and I'll get out of the way. We take a moment to remember some of the great dads who are no longer with us. We've heard mention Hugh Beaumont, Michael Landon, the very funny Bernie Mac.
Bernie Mac.
One of my favorite lines Bernie said of his young co-stars, Bernie said, "I'd like to give these kids a good home. In fact, there's one just a few miles away." And then there's the dad who set the standard for all other TV dads to follow. And so here to honor Robert Young are two men who have something in common. One is his grandson, and the other is an accomplished actor who showed no fear in the day the earth stood still. He played opposite stars like Burt Lancaster, Clint Eastwood, and Henry Fonda. And as Robert Young's on-screen son, he discovered why Father knows best. Here are grandson Bill Prophet and the actor Billy Gray.
Yeah. Billy Gray, oh my gosh. Billy Gray.
right, I'm going to pass the mic down and make this very quick, if you would. Everybody just give a quick shout out to what your TV dad or spouse means to you, and we'll just keep passing the mic, and it'll go all the way and end up with Mackenzie Rossman. Before I do that, one quick thing, I almost forgot. We have 2 birthday people almost here on Sunday. 2 people that are up there, I don't know if you can pick them out, were born on the same day and date. Their birthday is Sunday. Born on the same day and date, and you know what else happened? They both ended up working together, so we should probably wish a happy birthday to Michael Gross and Meredith Baxter. All right.
She's 60, I'm 50.
Yeah. I want Billy Gray to start things off, but before we do that, Bill Prophet, the grandson of Robert Young, brought some things that are, I think, in some gift baskets there. Just tell us very quickly what you brought in your granddad's honor.
We have another black and white series, Father Knows Best, so that we can go old school and just show everybody kind of where the tradition started. And I'm just glad everybody on the panel carried on the tradition that my grandfather started by playing a TV dad over the years in subsequent generations. So thank you to everybody, and I hope you enjoy it.
And we have DVDs for you in there of the show. Billy Gray.
Yeah, when I got the call to say a few words about my TV dad, I figured this was a perfect opportunity to, I don't know, straighten something out. We've had a half century of journalists and political pundits and reporters referring to Father Knows Best, and usually getting it wrong. The radio show, it ran for years. The title was Father Knows Best ? And the TV sponsor, Kent Cigarettes, wanted Father Knows Best, period. So Robert Young told me he fought hard to keep the question mark, but it was a deal breaker for Kent. And, well...
Don't you hate that when it happens? Well, I thank you for being here, Billy, and we all admire your work and the work you did in Father Knows Best and after that. And let's hear John Wampley here with a thought.
Well, I just want to say, Robert Young, you had it right the first time. Your heart's in the right place. Thank you for your guidance.
All right, John.
Ralph Waite is just a great guy and obviously a wonderful actor. Always lots of fun to be with. Always teller of really great jokes and a singer of really bad songs. We will never forget his, now remember this was the 70s, we'll never forget his version of I Shot the Sheriff.
One quick thing before Cammie goes. John plays, I'm correct on this, Stephen Collins, on your CDs in your band, right?
He's one of the finest guitar players on earth.
Okay, great. Wow.
Yeah.
Cammie?
I really wish that Ralph could have been here because there have been so many extraordinary stories told by some really, really fine storytellers, and Ralph would have been right in the mix. And I'm sad I didn't get to hear those tales because back then I was too young and they wouldn't let me listen to them.
Well, Ralph was more than just another actor. He was our dad. Season 4, I lost my dad in real life, and I remember coming to the set and Ralph was there. And he's always been there. So I'm just glad that we can be here today to tell you that.
All right, Mary?
That is true. And I lost my dad as well. And I remember the wedding show. And I was in my own mother's wedding dress, ready to walk down the aisle in the show. And I looked at Ralph, knowing that my own dad would never be able to do that. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I said, you know, you're the only dad I have left. And we both started to cry. So he was there, and I talked to him today, and he wants me to say thank you, and to say thank you to all of you, and give everybody a big hug from him.
And before we leave you, Mary has several stories. We got to hurry this up, I know, but this really kills me. I'm talking to her on the phone one day, and she has a Stephen Collins story that I couldn't believe. Stephen Collins was a guest star on the Waltons. Is it true or is it not true, Mary? Look at me, Mary.
I was the guest star too, you know.
Yeah,
she
but
was.
This, on everything. But is it true or not true that you did something to cause delays for some reason? Quickly.
Okay, really quick. Well, he's totally handsome and fabulous, and Judy Norton, who played Mary Ellen, my sister, we were working with him, and we were getting to the end of our time frame because we were underage, and we wanted him to stay because we thought he was hot. So we started to blow our lines, and we looked at him and said, "Hey, would you like to stay another day?" And he said, "Sure." But we got caught, and he didn't get to stay another day.
And you also, didn't you do something to Bill Paxton very quickly?
I murdered him. I put an axe in his back in a movie.
Oh.
Yeah.
You killed, yeah. All right.
Sorry, Bill. I am.
You would have to bring that up.
Terry's gonna see this, right?
Yeah.
Terry, you would have me drive all the way down here just to stand me up to go do a film. Thank you. We worked together for 4 years. It was great. I mean, he was just there all the time. And I'm just really happy he's in an action movie where he can actually shows off why he works out so much.
Yeah, all right.
I'd just like to say congratulations to my grandfather. Grandpa, thank you for being an example in your career and on screen, and also as a grandfather and a father for all your sons and your children and your grandchildren. So thank you.
You know, I think the best part of working with my dad is that I still get to come to things like this. I'd like to thank all these guys, these gentlemen, for sharing with us. I haven't laughed that hard in a long time. I think a couple of you guys missed your calling now. I mean, Bill Paxton and Bryan Cranston, if you see the characters they play on TV, you'd never guess that would come out of their mouth, ever. I'm fans of all you guys. I've had the pleasure to work with a bunch of you over the years. It's good to see you all again. Thank you again for sharing. It was a wonderful evening. Dad, you were best. And I'll see you for Father's Day. I love you.
Hi, Grandpa. I've never actually been able to tell you this personally, but you are a huge inspiration to me and a big influence on me. And I know it seems like, because now my brother and I write horror movies, like we strayed off path somehow. But it's because of you, guys like you and my dad, that you're the only two people that have made this feel like a safe business to be a part of. So I want to thank you, and congratulations.
Wow. Wow. Well, first of all, I can only say how lucky and blessed I was to be able to be part of such a wonderful show and work with such a wonderful man as Dick Van Dyke. And it was really impressive to hear people like John and Brian sit there and say that you were their inspiration, and that makes me feel so wonderful just because I was able to be around you as well. And you can obviously tell that I'm not really related to Dick because, unlike the rest of the family, they have hair, and I don't. So, but it was certainly a special thing. And Dick, congratulations, and you're a great father, and I'm glad you were my father figure as well.
Yeah, man.
Well, I'm glad you opened the door to hair, because when we first met Bryan Cranston that first day on Malcolm in the Middle, Bryan was stark naked with a little pouch, and they were gluing yak hair all over his body, which then Lois was shaving off with an electric razor. The problem was that although Bryan was completely covered in yak hair, saying hello to everyone on the set, we couldn't really shave it off. So we went out and found a couple teamsters, had them all take off their shirts to see who was the hairiest, and we shaved their back for the insert shot of Bryan being shaved.
It was a very high-class show.
So although Mr. Van Dyke and his offspring have a lot of hair, Bryan has a lot of hair too. But Bryan has always been madly in love with Dick Van Dyke, and we used to tell Bryan how much he reminded us of Dick Van Dyke. So to see the two of you sitting next to each other, I can't tell you, absolutely warms my heart. Bryan Cranston, though, is now a combination of Dick Van Dyke and Daniel Craig, I like to think, in his underwear. As a TV husband, he was kissing him as a TV husband was the combination of kissing Valentino or Brad Pitt.
Wow.
What Bill Clinton is to charisma, Bryan Cranston is to human beings and the human race.
Wow.
We were so blessed for 7 years to have Bryan be our dad to the kids, to be a husband to me on that show. Anyone who has worked with this man, spent time with this man, stood in line at Starbucks with this man, all you want to do is be his friend. And we have been so blessed to call you our dear friend. So happy Father's Day. Say something.
I'm only good when stuff is scripted. No, no. Well, you know, I grew up on the set of Malcolm in the Middle, and not only was Brian such a great TV dad, he was a great father figure to me. I mean, from 12 to 20, I was with Brian and Jane every single day, literally, and you know, I learned so much. I mean, and he's such an amazing actor, and it's so great that I could be here, you know, to share this with him, because I really am a huge Bryan Cranston fan. You know, after years and years of working with him, and you know, seeing him on his new show and stuff, it's amazing. You know, and I'm happy I could be here, and I'm happy I could have the opportunity to work with you. So.
Hi, it's my father, Dick Van Patten, and Dad, you mean a lot to me. I mean, you know that. And but more importantly, I want to say about everybody again. Just watching these clips of all these old TV shows, I mean, and some of the current shows as well, it was just mind-boggling. I loved it so much, and then hearing you guys speak, you can see why you're all stars. And it gave me goosebumps. It gave me goosebumps watching the clips and hearing them speak. So I always feel that way when I'm around you. And I've always felt that way, and my brother Vinny will speak in a second, and you've made life a lot of fun for us.
Thanks.
You and Mom. Thanks. Thanks a lot, Dad. Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Yeah, I agree, Nels. Amazing talent here tonight. It's just so impressive. That's why you can tell why you are all legends in the TV industry. But my father's been fantastic. He taught me so many things in life, and he also taught me how to play poker and read the racing form, and that came in very handy. I love him for it, and he's been supportive, and we love you, Dad. Thank you.
And tennis as well, right? Okay, well, Tom isn't here, as you know, but all I want to say is that he's my second dad, all right? This is my second family. When I got onto the set for the first time, the very first day, Marion Ross, Tom Bosley, and Ron Howard were standing there, and I was pretty nervous, okay? And I walked up, and Tom saw it, and you know what he said? He yelled out, he went, "Now that's my daughter. She's got brown hair just like me. That's my daughter." And I went, "I'm welcome. I'm good." I'm good. I love him to death. He's, every day that I walked on that set for 11 years, I'd walk on the set, and he'd say, "How are you, darling? How you doing?" And he'd hug me and kiss me on the cheek. And I called him yesterday to see how Patty was doing, his wife. And I said, "Hi, Tom, this is Erin. How are you, darling? How you doing?" Yeah. So she's doing better, and he's doing well. And I love him to death. Here's Marion.
First of all, Jim Longworth, I want to tell you, was the Mother's Show as good as this? This is a fantastic show. My gosh. And this is all on tape. This goes in the archives.
Oh my God.
It's just, well, you see it, you're gonna die. It's the best. Well, I'm sorry that Tom's not here because he had some wonderful stories. He could keep up with you guys, he really could. And he's also, he's making a movie right now with Jennifer Lopez or something like that. I thought, well, he got so confused with his wife in the hospital, starring in a movie, all these things, that he went to the local Poopa Doopa Leopard Lounge moose thing instead that he was supposed to go to. So anyway, Erin and I are so proud of him. He was the head of our family. Strong, tough little guy. Yes. And he had the ability to, if a joke was just not making it, he could come up with the button, just like that. He was just absolutely fabulous. Dick was on our show. Oh, yeah. Many people up here were on our show. Yes, so on his behalf, Erin and I thank you very much for this wonderful night.
It's such an honor to be here tonight to
give my love to my favorite friend and wonderful actor, Dick Van Patten. He set the standard of professionalism on our show, and I really believe he was the glue that kept all of our cast together. And some of the glue needed to be set on that cast. But anyway, one of the things that Dick used to say was, remember, these are the good old days. And I so remember that. And today is an example of a good old day. And I hope, Dick, that you continue to have many, many more good old days ahead. You deserve them as you deserve this award. And happy Father's Day. And I love you so much.
Thanks, Diane.
Yes.
Jim, this is really very, very cool, and thank you for having me.
Sure.
I am such a huge fan of all these TV dads, and wow, Dickie, DVP.
That's pretty cool.
Dick bailed me out of jail once. Now that's above and beyond a TV dad right there.
Okay.
No. It's been a while, so I'm not used to the lights, but Dick, in all seriousness, Dick has really, truly always been more than just a TV dad to me. He's been like a real father to me in many, many ways, and I truly do love him with all my heart. And, you know, Dick Van Patten is just one of the most genuine, nicest people you'd ever wish to meet. And if you were ever lucky enough to meet Dick, he would greet you with a huge smile and kindness and great respect, and he treats everybody the same. And he was not only a great example of somebody to be like, to work with, but he's always been a great example to me of what it means to be a great person. And I love him to death. Thank you.
So Step by Step was about blending families, except from the perspective of Patrick and I, it was about the two of us trying to get laid every week, and it never worked out. And I used to think, because we had these writers who would write these scenes where we would dress up in little costumes for sexual reasons, and I would say, people don't do that. But I was watching Sexcetera the other night, and maybe they do. Going to work every day with Patrick Duffy was just a joy. We never had a crossword. We got along so great. I just loved him. We would have all these scenes every day. He directed so many of them. And it would be interesting kissing Patrick Duffy in a scene when he's directing, because our mouths would be on one another, but he'd be going, move to the right, move to the right. Okay, put your head back here. I was talking to a friend of mine who ran the Canadian network for a long time. This was after I left Step by Step, and I was complaining about somebody that I was working with. And he said, you know, every once in a while you get to work with Patrick Duffy. The rest of it is called work. It was never work with you. It was great.
Boy, if you've got daddy issues, this is the place to be. Therapist on speed dial. So I played Patrick's daughter for 7 years, and it was a joy, always. I grew up on the show, which growing up on television can prove to be a tricky thing for a lot of people. But when I graduated high school, we were just finishing the show, and I had sent Patrick an announcement. And he sent me this really lovely card, and on the card he had taped half of a dollar bill. And he said, known for his generous nature, I would get the other half upon completing college. So I weighed the options, and I thought, God, rehab college? And had I gone to rehab, I think my career would be in a better place now. But I went to college, and I thought I'd give it a shot. And I graduated from UCLA, and I sent him the announcement, and sure enough, I got a thank you in the mail, and a congratulatory note with the other half of the dollar bill. And that story is not just the kind of dad Patrick is, but it's the kind of person he is. So, thank you.
Well, I played Christopher Ewing on Dallas with Patrick quite a while ago. Wow. And the only reason I'm here is because they said it was the roast of Patrick Duffy, so sorry, I'm a little off here. Yeah, I realized, like, growing up on the show, I'd always see the women on set, you know, my mom even, they'd all primp themselves before Patrick came on set, and I go, what is the deal with this? And then it clicked, about 12 years old, I was like, that guy's just really good looking. And I remember I was like, wait a second, that's my dad, and Victoria Principal is my mom. There's something to this. Maybe I'm just really good looking. And Patrick pulled me aside and he sat me down and he said, Josh, I just want to remind you, your character's adopted. And he kept me humble. That's what Patrick does. He keeps people humble. No, but seriously, Connor, his real son, found me, and I haven't seen Patrick in about 10 years. And it was an instant light bulb. It was like, you know, I got to see this guy. I gotta pay my dues and pay my respects. And I jumped at the opportunity to be here. And little did I know, all these icons would be here as well. So I'm honored to be here. Honored to be here for you. And happy Father's Day. Thank you for being such an impressionable person for my life. And these are Patrick's real sons right here.
Some of my earliest moments, we didn't go to the set a whole lot, but on Dallas, but some of my earliest moments are when my dad, when I'd be 5 or 6, and he'd dress me up as a little lawyer and put a little mustache on me, and then he would send me out in a shot, not telling anyone. I'd open the door and I would come out, and also, I distinctly remember he'd let me hide sometimes during a take. So he'd be on the couch having a scene, and I'd be like 7 years old behind the couch, like giggling. And so even when I see reruns now, I wonder, am I there? Am I hiding? So it's only apropos that I'm behind some furniture once again. But I will always be behind furniture you're in. I love you, Dad.
Hi, I'm Connor. I'm Patrick's other son. Not the other one. I'm known as the other one. Number 2. I'll just make it very quick. Not only did my dad not shoot and kill Santa when we were 3, but my brother Pedrick tells the story that when my dad finally broke the news to him that Santa wasn't real, he had to drive around the block a few times. He was so upset. Dad, I love you, and happy Father's Day. I'm glad to be here.
Hi, I'm Doug, and I play Bill's eldest son on Big Love. And I remember sitting in the lobby of HBO after getting the part to play your son, and I was terrified that I was going to be recast once they found out I was taller than you. And
I tried.
But he I was waiting there with sitting on my hands, and then in walked Bill Paxton, and he was wearing cowboy boots, and I was really happy about that because I was wearing flip-flops, so I was like, okay, there we go. I got a couple inches to go down. And he was like, hey, everybody, you ready to spend 5 years together? And it's been 6 years. We've done 3 seasons thanks to HBO's weird scheduling thing. But yeah, I was really relieved that you were wearing cowboy boots, and I was
Still wearing them.
Yeah, and I was also really relieved that you were such a welcoming, nice, inspirational actor to be with. And I don't know, you introduced me to so many, like Leonard Cohen, Nick Drake, and so many awesome bands and things like that. And I don't know, whatever. You're just really, yeah. And I'm excited to start the 4th season in August with you. And, and happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm gonna pass it over to Mary Kay.
I play Bill's evil and hideous mother-in-law. So I don't really have a fatherly thing, but I must say I wanted to reveal tonight what a major Martian Bill is, but I think he's done that already, all by himself.
And I also wanted to say what a brilliant actor I think that he is. And he is so generous. He works as hard when it's your close-up as he does when it's his close-up. And he's also the kind of man, and I now learn where he got this from his own dear old dad. When my father visited the set, he had a very intense day of deep, dramatic, heart-wrenching scenes, one after another. And he would come to Video Village between each take, sit down with my father, and start in with a big old story, and ask my father a million questions, and spent the entire afternoon in this unbelievably intense day of dramatic work with my dad, hanging out. It was one of my dad's favorite times ever. And of course, they're both Texans, so there was a lot about that. But it is a pleasure to work with you, and congratulations.
Mary Kay, thank you. Thank you.
As John's stepmother, on the weekends and summer times when he was in my care, my charge was to not allow his sister to eat too much ice cream and not allow young John to watch too much television. I failed miserably at both. But look what happened. John, we're so proud of you. Congratulations. And I'm sure your young Charlie would agree. You're not just a great TV dad, you're a great real dad. And we're very proud of you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm thoroughly confused. For those of you that don't watch the show, I know I might still look kind of young, but John does not play my father. No. No. John plays my brother. And at the risk of sounding mean, and this is all about, you know, love and hugs and all that, as far as fathers go, I got Martin Sheen. Sorry, John.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm right there with you.
No.
He's awesome.
But
I got nothing on that guy.
If you're cool being number 2,
oh yeah,
behind him,
I'll take it. Martin Sheen, then me. Come on.
Yes.
I'll take it.
And as far as television dads go, I just want to say that with me as that little boy's uncle, thank God he has you as his father. I love you, John.
I love you too, man.
Excuse me. Okay, now that I'm over the diarrhea. I just want to say that it is an honor and a pleasure to be here. So often we wait too long to give out flowers to those who are deserving, and all of you guys are all so deserving. It's just so awesome. All of you guys. I'm Darius McCrary, and I had the pleasure of playing Eddie Winslow for 9 seasons with Mr. Reginald Vell Johnson here. I don't ever call you by your name. You are Dad to me. You've always been Dad. I love you so much. Thank you so much. Congratulations. It is my pleasure and my honor to be here to honor you. And I just remember the first day walking in on set and not knowing where I was, not knowing where to stand. And from that moment on, it was just smooth sailing, because Reggie grabbed me and was like, look, man, we're going to be doing this. We're a family. You got to lock in. And you've taught me so many things that have helped me grow as an actor, as a man. You've supported me, whether it's coming to my high school graduation, whether it's coming to hear my band play, whether it's me bringing chicks up to the crib when I was living with my mama and I didn't have nowhere to take them. I mean, you my dude. You my dude. Have always been, always will be, and this is befitting. This is befitting because I don't miss a Father's Day or take the time to call you up on Father's Day to tell you Happy Father's Day. Coming from a single-parent family home, you have always been dad to me and always will be. I love you and thank you so much, my dude.
Thank you, everybody. That's a wrap. Sit down. Thank you for coming. I think we can.
I smell the fear. I just want to, first of all, just say I am so excited to have been here tonight, to have been watching this show. It is so much better than the TV Mom show. I can't begin to tell you.
That's not. You guys aren't funny. That's not true.
Well, let's just say it wasn't a great success, and thank you. You have every reason to be afraid now. Anyway, I've just enjoyed this thoroughly. You guys have been so funny. Just about Michael. First of all, you notice our kids aren't here. You know, not one kid. Okay, the flu. Yeah.
He believed her.
Yes, I know. Easy. I just want to say that, you know, Michael was my best friend for 7 years, and I came into that show. He had me laughing all the time, all the time. He's a consummate actor, and he came from the stage, and I think that kind of went to his head. And I came from television, so there's, you know. But he was so committed to everything he did. He approached it very seriously. He knew all his lines on the first day, and anyone who does a 4-camera show, you know, you don't learn your lines on the first day. You learn it on the 4th day, because then you know what you're going into. But he was very much the professional and learned it every night when he'd get a brand new script. A terrible waste of time.
Stupid.
A terrible waste of time.
What was I thinking?
But one of the things I always loved about him is he loved to make me laugh, which took no effort whatsoever. I would usually get the giggles about 4 o'clock all the time. And one of the things that he would seem to love to do was we'd be standing off stage waiting to make an entrance, supposedly into the kitchen or something, when we heard the appropriate line. And of course, I'd be talking, and he would say, "Go, go, go, there's a cue." So I'd run into the kitchen. And everyone would stop. Say, "What are you doing there?" He'd sent me in early, because he did that all the time, and I fell for it every time. But I want to say he's been my favorite of all the husbands I've had. All of them. Although a good runner-up was Steve as Dan Broderick. But then
you killed me.
Yeah, but you were a very good dad, but you just had to go, you know? What can I say? Anyway, there's a little bit of Betty in all of us, you know. Anyway, very glad to be here tonight. Happy Father's Day. I love you to pieces.
This is beautiful. This is like a group eulogy. It's just, really lovely.
Somebody dying. I just want to say that I'm really happy to be able to be here for you, and since, you know, I was the only one of your children who came to present your presence, I deserve the title of the most special. At least they're pseudo-children, of course, only. You know, I just want to say I started, you know, when I started working on the show with Stephen, I thought people were inside the television. That was like my best guess, really, and I'm not kidding or trying to be funny. I'm serious. And I didn't know anything about what I was doing, and I don't think anyone could have set a better example about what it means to be professional and to just rock. And I'm really happy to be a part of your life. And 32 people came up on this stage, I think, if I'm adding correctly, to congratulate the 9 of you. And I don't think that there's a single person standing behind you who isn't beaming with pride at being a part of your lives.
Thank you.
So.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
I've been told before we wrap up, we have one last surprise
Why
for all of
are you standing there?
What are you doing? Get out of here.
There we go. Upstage, upstage.
How dare you?
You're so good looking. And we've had a lot of surprises for the individual dads. Now we have a surprise for all of the dads. I don't really know that much about this. I understand that Rocky Chatfield, one of our great producers, said she heard a singing group or something and thought it might be a good idea if they came out and sang a Father's Day song. I didn't even know there was a Father's Day song. So, gentlemen, if you're in the wings, if you could walk out center stage here, come on out. We'll find out who you are.
Oh, for God's sake.
Come, gentlemen, right here, right here, and each tell your names. Each tell your names. Go ahead quickly.
What are you going to do?
Bradley. I'm Mike.
It's my quartet.
Right, Dick. Please, we're trying to do something here. And so, if the three of you could sing, I think you have a Happy Father's Day.
We're ready for it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Happy almost Father's Day to you. Happy almost Father's Day to you.
I love harmony.
Yeah. Happy almost Father's Day, dear TV dads. Happy 3 days before Father's Day to you.
My God.
Right, one other. Come here.
Well, you know,
there's something I don't understand. There's something I don't understand about this because Rocky, you told me you were a quartet,
well,
and there are only 3 of you here.
Well, actually, the fourth one's
What's
here
the name
too.
of your group?
We're called Dick Van Dyke and the Fantastics.
Yeah, how about that? But you know, one thing I want to say about this, these guys are great. They sing a cappella, and I'm reminded very quickly of an Andy Griffith episode where Barney was bragging about his singing skills. And he told Andy, he said, yeah, I can do a cappella. And Andy said, okay, sing a cappella. And Barney put on the spot, says, a cappella, a cappella. So I really appreciate what you're doing. I'm going to get out of the way, and we're going to close out the evening. And I think we're persuading you to do something I didn't know existed. There are actually lyrics to what?
To the Dick Van Dyke Show theme.
And you're going to do it, and
man. They were written by Maury Amsterdam.
Yeah, so I tell you what, let's do that, and then I'm going to let you guys split out, and we'll have a standing ovation for everybody or something. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead.
Okay.
So you think that you got trouble? Well, trouble's a bubble. So tell Mr. Trouble to get lost, get lost. Why not hold your head up high and stop crying, start trying, and don't forget to keep your fingers crossed. Ooh. When you find the joy of living is loving and giving, you'll be there when the waiting dice are tossed, are tossed. A smile is just a frown that's turned upside down. So smile and that frown will defrost, defrost. And don't forget to keep your fingers crossed. Yeah!
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Jim. Great job.
Thanks, Patrick. Thank you, Derek.